Peace to the saints. I'm speaking about humility today. For those of you less familiar with the English language, you might be more familiar with the word humble. Humility is the condition of being humble. This concept is often misunderstood. And when you hear people say things like be humble, this usually comes from the mouths of losers, not wise men. And I want to clarify what it is to actually be humble or exercise humility and what benefits come from humility, particularly in the areas of masculinity, of leadership, of family, of character, and of pursuing success. The reason that I decided to speak of this is because of the words of a young man in one of the sections of the Assassin. His captain and his executive were organizing assassin security drills. And he said, I didn't join to become security. And that's sensible. In fact, I don't think anyone's joined to become security. There are many things that we teach through our assassin security drills, through the mindset we instill. And sometimes as a teacher, you find that the student's ignorance is raging against being removed. You see, the ignorance in that person is raging and fighting to remain. Really saddened me to hear that kind of a thing. And this had been brewing for some time. So I waited to have this conversation with you all. Number one, let me point out one of the major expressions of humility or being humble, which is to not be over concerned with the self, particularly over concerned or over invested in the idea that you are important, you are someone exceptional and special, that others have you on their mind, that everyone's always watching you and concerned with what you're doing. You don't matter that much. And it doesn't matter who you are. You could be the president of the United States. If you go out, we have the vice president. You could be Michael Jackson or Prince. You're the king of pop. Once you go out, there'll be a new one. That is foolishness. You know, when you are the opposite of humble, you are entering being foolish because you have inaccurately overestimated your importance and your worth. And in doing so, you make yourself look silly. You'll have to bear with me on this one because admittedly, I'm very displeased. Not even at this particular individual, but displeased that this kind of mentality is so common. And one of my great efforts is to teach people out of this mentality. This is, what he said is, I didn't join to become a security guard. Do you really think that we're trying to make you a security guard? For example, here's an example of humility. Now, mind you, the young man who said this, I don't know who he is. He's not wealthy. He's not famous. He's just an average Joe, But even if he was wealthy and famous, it really wouldn't matter. And I'll give you an example of someone who is wealthy and famous. When we did assassin security drills in Saint City, Las Vegas, Jabrizi was a part of the drill, and he operated in the capacity of any other person. And even while we were doing the drill, like people were recognizing, like, oh, like that's the magician guy. I know him from TikTok. People are trying to get an autograph while we're doing our security detail. He stayed in his position. And this is a guy that I personally know for a fact to be wealthy. We went to galas in Washington, D.C. I watched the man write a $25,000 check for good causes. He didn't buy himself anything except that he did good for someone else, wrote a $25,000 check, money that he'll never see again, to help someone else. So he's both wealthy and famous, but he can come You don't come down. You don't have to lower yourself to be humble. That's not what being humble is about. Being humble is about being realistic. Being humble is about acknowledging your humanity, the fact that you're human and everyone else is human, and you are all essentially the same and at the same level. The things that separate us are uh, often temporary and also meaningless. And what I mean is that if one guy's a multimillionaire and another guy's a thousandaire, that man who's a multimillionaire may be temporarily a multimillionaire. The guy who's a thousandaire may be temporarily a thousandaire. Humility is not to start believing that you are godly or that you are more than you actually are. The young man who said, I didn't join to become a security guard, he's missing so much of the point of what we're teaching. And I'll just share a couple of the things that he should have learned from being on teams, playing team sports. He should have learned from a good father. He should have learned from being a part of a hierarchy. He should have learned in combat sports things like honor, responsibility, hierarchy, being a team player. Um, you know, I have to break these things down because uh, a lot of us are missing them. So, for example, when you are a part, look, if you are not humble, you can never be loyal. You can never be loyal to anything because loyalty is about setting the self aside and saying that it is one for all. One, myself as an individual, I'm about the group, I'm about all of us. I want to, make sure that we're all good, not just myself. In this era that we're in, so many of us are me monsters, narcissists. And being humble is something that we don't fully understand. We confuse it into thinking that being humble is like when you're being dishonest and acting like you're not a big deal. If you are a big deal, there's nothing wrong with saying you're a big deal. If you're a big deal, there's nothing wrong with saying you're a big deal. Being humble, if you're a big deal and you're saying that you're not, you're being dishonest. That's not being humble, that's being dishonest. But the reason I want to point out that example is because if this young man who said, I'm not here to be a security guard, doesn't understand the greater efforts that we're making to educate and build men, number one, when we teach SAS and security, we teach the principles of you being alert, you being militant, you being mindful of your environment, you knowing how to operate as one soldier, a part of a whole, a part of a unit, a part of a squadron. These are skills that will keep you safe. These are skills that build the organization that will wrap around you when you are in need. One thing you have to know is that the definition of American has changed radically, but here's the important piece. This is not something that you opted into. If you were born within a given political territory, you are made a citizen as a result of birth in most cases. And you're a citizen of a nation and of a government. You're subject to a government, but that government might not necessarily love you, value your life, or take care of you or protect you. The policing force of that government might not protect you. In some cases, that policing force could be a danger to you. And one thing I want to assure you is that the reason we build our security force is so that we can protect ourselves, our families. You can't always rely on dialing 911. I'd rather dial my people. I'd rather rely on my neighbors, the people who are close and proximate and actually care about me. You hire a bodyguard, they're working for a check. They're not working for you and the love of you and the protection of you. When we teach SAS and security, we're teaching you how to be militant, how to be strong, alert, how to avoid conflict, but how to execute effectively if conflict must occur. That's why we often do combat sports. You'll be a better protector of your women and your children. And most importantly, if you would ever seek to be a leader, you must also know how to be a follower. Now, listen to me. If you would ever seek to be a great leader, you must also be a great follower. One thing that can always be said of Marquette Devon Burton is I am an excellent follower. Yes, sir. If I'm on a football team and they say we're doing bear crawls, we are doing bear crawls. And I'm not going to stop bear crawling until whoever's in charge, the coach, the man with the whistle, until he says stop bear crawling. When I am in the ranks, I'm going to operate in that capacity to the best of my ability. And as an entrepreneur, if you don't have humility, you'll never really get the job done. People won't believe in you and respect you. You won't be able to build a team because it takes humility to be a proper entrepreneur. Because when you found a company as a founder, CEO, as the boss, yes, you're the boss, but you're also the janitor because you haven't yet hired a janitor. Maybe you don't have the capital to hire a janitor or a secretary or whomever. And you have to operate in that capacity as well until you can hire someone else. You have to go in your own sales meetings until you can hire a sales team to go on your behalf. That being the case, a real boss truly respects a janitor because you've actually done their job. A boss respects a janitor because you've done their job. I had an office in St. Louis. And I remember I had to clean my office. I could afford the office, but I couldn't afford the cleaning service at the time. And I remember when I was able to finally afford a cleaning service, boy, I really appreciated that Black woman who came in there to clean my office because it needed cleaning and she was saving me time. And I knew the effort that it took to clean the office because I had to do it before. But I tell you one thing, I'm never too proud or prideful to think that I'm too important to do anything. I'm not too important to get on my hands and knees and scrub a floor. I'm not too important to take a job as a janitor if the chips are down. I'm not too important to take a commercial flight or to ride on a public bus. When you start getting too much into yourself and your self importance, one, you're lying because you're still a human being. And number two, you're setting yourself up for embarrassment and failure. Embarrassment and failure. And you'll never really be a part of anything unless you can subordinate yourself to the group. When you're on a football team, a basketball team, any kind of team, the goal is not for you to look good and for you to get a highlights reel. The goal is not for you to be on ESPN Sports Center highlight. The goal is for the team to win. The goal is for the team to have victory. The goal is not for you as an individual to look great. Now, if you look good in the process, fantastic. But that is not the goal. So many young people grew up in the pornography generation as well as the video game generation. And as a result, they don't know what it is to play on a team because instead of going outside and participating, on the field of play or the field of battle, on proper sporting teams, soccer, baseball, basketball, football, they're at home by themselves on the internet. And the closest, fake team they get is playing online gaming with other persons where they never shake a man's hand. They never engage directly in actual conflict and therefore never experience conflict resolution. They don't develop the proper social skills. They don't develop respect for hierarchy. You see, when I remember when I was a youngster, I was on a championship football team. And there were times that the coach would say something to you that you didn't like, but you didn't say anything back. There are times your father says something to you that you didn't like. You don't say anything back. One, it's out of respect. Number two, it's out of fear. And you need a little bit of both. And when you're within a hierarchy, you need to respect that hierarchy. You see, sometimes the person above you in a hierarchy is no smarter or more capable than you are, but you have to respect that they're in a higher position. Now, by all means, try to improve your lot, try to increase your station. But while you're here, operate and respect those who are here. And also, when someone's really trying to teach you something, your elders or men with wisdom, value the lessons that they're actually giving to you. Value the structure that they're putting around you. I tell you what, do I think that who's more likely to take a bullet for me? Someone I've been with in Assassin for half a decade, for 5 years. We've both been in Assassin. We've been training and working out together every week, going to social events together as a group every month for 5 years. I know his family. He knows my family. Our women, engage socially together. If we're out and there's an issue, is he more likely to take a bullet for me, or is the police more likely to take a bullet for me? For sure, this man. And I want him to be trained up so that he is most effective if he has to be my partner, my collaborator in defending ourselves and our families. One thing I also want you guys to understand is that, yes, we are undoubtedly in revolutionary times. And when you look at any nation of any kind or any group of people, any tribe, any culture, and this is a culture, they must have certain functions. Security is one of the most basic of functions. The US government is morally corrupt. We see this in the way that they're behaving domestically within the United States, what they're doing to the children in the public schools, what they're doing abroad in terms of driving protracted war throughout the globe. So, yes, we have to build to protect ourselves. But when I teach you, when we do the assassin security drills, it teaches you so much more than physical protection and having a heightened sense of awareness. It teaches you hierarchy, and everything we do is modeled on a system. For example, the hierarchy that you learn in SaaS and security and the way each section operates mirrors the hierarchy that you should operate in your family as a man, which is to say that you have father, mother, older sibling, younger sibling. That's chain of command, that's hierarchy. And let none of those persons step outside of their place or their role. And when you operate your family with hierarchy, your children and your wife respect you and they defer to you. Huh? And one thing you learn through humility is that you're not always the leader. For example, if we're at a assassin event, we're taking photos, it's most appropriate that whoever's highest ranking is at the center of the photograph. It's appropriate. You know, if you're in Florida and you're taking a photo, the executive should be in the middle. If you're in Canada, you're taking a photo, Ramsey, the executive, should be in the middle of the photo. He is at the top in that particular group. Now, here's the thing. If we're taking a photo and we're in St. City, I'll be at the center of it. But if I am at your family function in Las Vegas, I'm not about to try to get in the center of the photo. I'm going to play my position appropriately. I'm going to go wherever I should be or wherever you instruct me to be. I'm here to follow directions. You're not always at the top of the hierarchy, and things are not always about you as an individual. We have to realize that there's some things that we owe. What I mean by that is if you choose to be a part of a group of any kind, you choose to be a part of a football team, you choose to be a part of a corporation, you choose to be a part of a family, you go under that family name, you owe something to that group. Sometimes you owe service. Sometimes you owe loyalty. Sometimes you owe capital, whatever the case is, you owe something. So I want you all as men to understand that there's nothing that we do within the assassin thoughtlessly. Everything we do when we design for very meaningful reasons. And there's nothing, I encourage everyone to think, to question, and to improve. We want continuous improvement within our processes and our culture. And, but I don't want anyone to be childish, to be too self-focused, to lack humility. And you see, I'm not using the word pride because pride is actually a great thing. I am a big supporter of pride. I tell you to stick your chest out. If you're the best, say you're the best. Show me too. You know, if you're the best, say you're the best and also show me. There's nothing wrong with pride. I don't ever speak ill of pride, especially when we're talking about men. When we're talking about women, yes, women often need to let go of their pride. You hear me? Men need pride. That's how we get up the gall to die in wars. You know, men need pride. There are a lot of things we have to do that you only can do when you have pride. A lot of women, they got too much pride, and we'll speak on that as well. I'll take a pause for questions, comments, and thank you to those who have supported the work. Shout out to the ballers. Darren writes, paying what I owe. How much of your success do you credit to a higher power, if any? How do you make the connection? Peace of the saints. I don't credit any of my success to a higher power. I credit the tools that I was given to achieve success to a higher power, which is to say that, I have good height, I have good genetics, reasonably attractive, physically strong, good IQ. And so I was provided a good tool set to pursue success. That was given by the creator. I didn't earn any of that. Now, what you do with the tools is up to you. There are a lot of people who were handed better tools. You hear me? They were dealt a better hand than I was dealt, and they ain't win. So the success comes from you. The tools come from the creator, but it's all about what you do with the tools. And when you say, how do you make that connection? I don't know if you're saying, how do you connect to a higher power? Or how do I connect my success to, the higher power? But one of the things that I think will accelerate your success, or rather, I know will accelerate your success and make it easier and more pleasant, is faith. And that is something that I was forcefully reminded of by a higher power two times in life. No, two times. And it both occurred from what are called, or one was a natural disaster, and the other one was a shocking circumstance that, you know, things that were not quite man-made or man-controllable. And so I knew I was being spoken to. Thank you for that question. May I acknowledge Saint KH? He writes, sent you an email saying, looking forward to hearing your reply. Let me pull that up just so I can have that queued up. Okay, I see right here. You have a proposition. So I'll hold on to this one. All right. Thank you for that. Noor writes, Peace to the Saints, a powerful lesson. Indeed, and some might not even realize how powerful it is. And I think that for you who have followed me for some time, when you hear someone like myself speak of humility, especially when you know that I'm not afraid of speaking well of myself, you might be confused, but know that humility doesn't mean you don't tell the truth. You know, if I walk into a room and we're having a contest to see who the best public speaker is, and someone says, "Who's the best public speaker?" That would be me. That would be me. I'm not going to be dishonest or act small when I'm really tall. You dig? So I'm saying, yeah, no, I'm the best. And if you'd like a demo, I can demo right now. There's nothing wrong with knowing that you have the goods when you actually have the goods. Lying is not being humble. Acting small when you're tall is not being humble. Having respect for others, knowing that everything's not about you, not being self-absorbed, being humble enough to listen to others and learn from others, and to know that you don't know it all. That's about humility right there. You can have pride and humility at the same time. And often people who speak of humility, and because to be honest with you, I never make a video that has already been made by anyone. If I see that someone else has explained a subject very well, I'd rather just post the video for you all to watch. I would never make the video again after them if they did a good job. But I searched for discussions on humility, and I found that none were adequate, and most of them would go into the Bible, and then you just have endless levels of confusion because the Bible, in many cases, is not written clearly, and many persons, frankly, don't understand what they're reading or how it applies to life today. And so I'm giving you a secular explanation of the importance of humility as it relates to your individual success, family, and leadership. Assassin Research Labs writes, Peace of the Saints, take your drip to the next level with a gold on gold watch produced by Saint Flows. Link in the chat. Yes, indeed. And I wish I had it on right now, because it's a cold piece. It's a beautiful piece. I've had mine maybe for like 2 years now, and it looks as good as the first day I got it. Gold on gold, yellow stones in the face. It's a gorgeous piece. And he says, link in the chat. There you go. Very good. Joseph sends intuition. Appreciate it. By the way, shout out to the ballers. Isaiah writes, peace and blessings, Mr. Burton. My questions will mostly be answered on Patreon. Okay. My questions will mostly be answered on Patreon. Okay. Got you. I'll check my email and see if you sent the questions. And we will be having a lot of Patreon content coming out this month. I can tell this month will be one of great inspiration. And I also want to acknowledge those of you who have continued to be members for some time. And shout out to Matthew. I remember I just saw Matthew pop up, his membership renewed. And Matthew is someone that I respect very much, in as much as he's a young man. He recently moved out on his own, and he's been successful at that. And he's managed his finances such that he can maintain a high level membership and still handle his affairs and be an independent man. Very proud of him. I like to see that, because I know that the world can be difficult. And in the West, especially, you all are confused into thinking that you're kids when you're not kids. You got people who are 25, asking me questions that let me know that they think that they're a baby. It's like you're a 25-year-old man. You're years beyond when you should be able to operate with your independence of mind and make it on your own. So when I see you guys out here making it, I'm very happy for you. I'm very pleased to see that, because so many in this nation are living as children while being adults. May I acknowledge Nate, who became a member at patreon.com/the Saint and the Sinner. Shout out to him. May I acknowledge Austin, sends intuition as well. Young man is prosperous. Shout out to Rich Foreverway, writes peace to the saints. George Kelly comes in, very consistent, loyal saint. They keep on giving us these weather alerts. Ironically, none of them seem to be accurate. And again, that's government information. It's rarely accurate. Earlier, I was watching the president along with many other bureaucrats saying, if you take this injection, you're not going to get that scary thing. And then what do you know? They were lying. People got it anyways. And then, well, if you take this booster, sad. Shout out to Joseph, came in via tuition. Marcos writes, peace of Saints tuition for the high level game. Appreciate you. Dolo comes in via Cash App, writes peace to the saints. Rich Foreverway writes question in the chat. Engel. Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, let's see. Here we are. I'm not sure if it's conference 2, but you advise negotiating price and shipping costs with Alibaba. Yes, that's correct. You can negotiate both of those things, because generally in business, there's an effort to make a profit on anything you can make a profit on. That being the case, when you're paying for your sample or even your bulk order, that price is negotiable. And that's the reality of things. You would think the shipping price would not be negotiable, but it is, because they're actually adding a little bit of padding to that price. So, for example, if it costs, say, $85 for them to ship a sample from Shenzhen, China to, Los Angeles, whatever it may actually cost from DHL, whether that's $80 or whatever, they're still going to charge you $120 so that they can make a little something extra. It's a strategy that's commonly used in e-commerce business as well. So yes, you should negotiate both. Thank you for that question. Resuming with the lecture. When you hear people say, be humble, they often say it at the wrong time or in the wrong way. It's mostly losers who say such a thing. And the reality is they say this because they don't want you to shine, because that bright light of yours might shine some light on their shortcomings. So the folks who are all, oh, be humble, be humble. They don't want you to brag, which is to say they don't want you to celebrate success. They don't want you to celebrate yourself when you're doing well. If I see you doing well or being successful, I absolutely want you to celebrate, because in all likelihood, you're not successful for no reason. You're successful as a result of hard work and focus and dedication. And you should definitely celebrate yourself for what you have achieved. And so, in as much as that's the case, I want you to celebrate. And the reason that I'm happy to see you celebrate is because I too am successful. And as a result, I know how good it feels to be successful, how good it feels to speak well of the things you've earned. And because I am also successful, I don't feel any less successful seeing you win. You see, I don't feel any worse off about my lot seeing you rise up. I live in a big house. If you get a bigger house, it doesn't shrink the size of my house. I don't have to compare my house to your house. If you get a big house, I'm gonna walk in there like, whoa, bro, this is regal. This is stately right here. You live in. And I like to see it. But when you have those who are not successful, those who do not feel good about themselves or the effort they've put in life and what they've been able to draw out as a result of their labor and efforts, when they know that they've not really given it a good shot, and they're suffering in life, they don't want to see you winning and gliding and sailing through. It's called jealousy. It's called jealousy. It's the jealous ones, it's the envious ones who say, be humble. They don't really mean be humble. What they really mean is be quiet. Be quiet. Stop stop speaking and being loud about what you've done because I don't like to see it. I don't like to be aware of it. That's what they really mean. So let you not be confused on what being humble actually is, and let you not think that being prideful doesn't have a time and a place. It does. Many things have a time and place. I know a man is a coward when he speaks against violence categorically. And he's like, oh, violence is always bad. No, sometimes violence is the most appropriate thing, you see. Like if I was out in the world and someone was to, touch a woman who's with me inappropriately, 9 out of 9, violence is the most appropriate thing. And I will happily engage it without a moment of hesitation. And I am certain that that's the right thing. And if the wicked authorities were to, try to incarcerate me and take me through their Mickey Mouse legal system, and these foolish judges whose true aim is to control others would say, do you feel any remorse for what you did? I would say, absolutely not. And if I could do it again, I'd do it the exact same way. Thank you very much. So I say that to say, um, pride has a time and place, violence has a time and place, everything has a time and place. You hear so many people speaking, but the problem is everyone's allowed to speak. The wise men are allowed to speak, and the fools are allowed to speak, but there's so many more fools. They drown out the voice of wisdom, and you're left with hearing what average people think, and average people haven't done much. Now they've seen a lot, but they've not seen it firsthand. They've seen it on Instagram. They've seen it on YouTube. They've seen it on television. They're not telling you what they know. They're telling you what they think. They're telling you what they guess is right. And the true sadness is that they have such certainty. They feel so confident in what they're telling you, even though it's not tried and true. And that is the sadness of our time. Nate Lou writes, saying, I've been a member for a while. Just had to renew everything today. I appreciate the Discord as well. The Saints keep me motivated indeed. And shout out to one of the Saints. I think it was Vilkin, if I'm not mistaken. Looks like he got a 13-mile run in. That's a serious run right there. And these things keep me motivated as well to be around high quality people who are striving for more. You see, a person who's a couch potato and they see Vilkins ran 13 miles today and they've maybe walked 13 steps to the refrigerator, they're going to be like, oh, why is he showing off? He's living. He's doing what you should be doing. You should be thankful that he's showing off because you know what? It didn't cross my mind to run 13 miles today. But when I see that Vilkin ran 13 miles, it crosses my mind that it's possible, that maybe it's a good idea, that he's a peer of mine, he's within this thing of ours. Maybe I should be doing the same thing. We are like, maybe I should be running 13 miles. It's a good reminder. I like to see it. And I like that he's telling me about it. And I like that he has pride in it. And you know what? I take pride in what he has done. It is the low among us who they don't take pride in what you've done. They don't take pride in your accomplishments. That's a good father, a good mother, a good brother, a good friend. They take pride in your accomplishments, while those who essentially hate you and are jealous of you, they see your accomplishments and they're threatened, or they wish that your accomplishments were theirs, or they just wish that you hadn't accomplished anything. That is what most of the world is. Those who are afraid to be humble, you see, and when I say afraid to be humble, you know, this goes back to the young man who said, I didn't join Sasson to be a security guard. It's not that he's doesn't want to operate in like the Sasson security drill. It's that he's concerned with who's watching him while he does the drill. That's what he's really concerned about. Uh, I have an ability to see through to to the heart of things. That's what happens when you grow up in a rough ghetto and then you're able to also operate in a corporate jungle. You get to see all types of people, different cultures, different IQ, different strategies, some aggressive, some passive aggressive. And the truth is he's just scared of being embarrassed or how others will perceive him and look at him. And that is a prison, I promise you. If you are worried about what others feel about you or what they think, that is a real prison. And it's quite a sad prison to be in, because here's the comedy and the irony. Those people don't care about you. You see, I'm concerned with, what does, I don't have any children, but if I did, what do my children think of me? What does my woman think of me? What does my mother, my father think of me? What do my friends think of me? What do my business associates think of me? The people I get money with. Now, random guy who lives down the street, random thought on TikTok, random person on Las Vegas Boulevard on the strip, I don't care what they think of me. Random internet hater, I don't care what they think of me. They matter not. They don't make me money. They wouldn't save my life if it was at risk. They wouldn't intervene on my behalf if someone was speaking ill of me. So it matters not what they think of me. It is the insecure among us. It is those who don't know who they are. That's why we have the 3 sentence Bible. Number one, be yourself. Number two, be good to yourself. Number three, be good to good people. SaaS and security really exemplifies all of that. Number one, be yourself. Even if you put on a security uniform or operate in a security capacity, you still are who you are. For example, I've been out places and I've seen, women, working a certain job that has a uniform. Maybe it's not a prestigious job, but a beautiful woman, even in a McDonald's uniform, is still a beautiful woman. I repeat, a beautiful woman in a McDonald's uniform is still a beautiful woman because she is what she is. I look at her and I see that the merit is there, the merit of beauty or whatever other merit she has. A uniform doesn't strip that away. But a person who's insecure, you see, they try to hide. They don't want to, be seen for what they really are. And they think that the things you put on top of yourself change who you are. If you're a coward and you put on a police uniform, you're not a brave man all of a sudden. If you're a coward, you put on the uniform of a Marine, you don't become a brave man. You become a coward in a Marine's uniform. You become a coward in a police outfit. It doesn't change who you are. And the intelligent among us and the wise and experienced among us can look and see what is there. You're not fooling anyone. You feel me? You're not fooling anyone. And that's why I don't have any problem flying commercial, because if I fly commercial, I'm a businessman, whether I'm in coach class or business class, I'm a businessman. And anyone with common sense can see that and they can hear that in my tonation and the way that I look at the world. It is the one who has low self esteem and low self view who is overly concerned about what others think. When you don't know who you are, you're very concerned with what others think because you're defining yourself based on what they say. You're defining yourself based on what other people tell you you are. I don't follow any trends that don't make sense to me. I don't follow any advice. I question all assumptions. For example, I like to keep a lot of space in my house. You know, I've had women come and say, "Oh, well, why don't you put up some artwork?" Whose art? Who? Like, I don't know that many artists. I know one artist. I bought his art. I put it up, even though I thought it was ugly. Frankly, I thought it was ugly. I still bought it because it's my friend, and I put it up out of respect because this is what he does for a living. I want to put some money in his pocket, so I bought it. I think it's ugly as hell. I put it up. He asked me. I said, "Bro, this is modern art. I don't even like modern art. I think it's ugly as hell. But I tell you what, I'm gonna put it up in the house. When people come through and check it, I'm like, that's my friend so and so. Check him out. It's love. But I'm not going to put up art for no reason. I'm not going to put up art from strangers. I'm not going to put up art so that my walls aren't bare. What's wrong with my walls being white and bare? I like that. And I don't like distraction. Every time I look at something, it causes it's a stimuli. It's stimuli. It causes the brain to think and process information. If I look at something, I want it to be a canvas of something that means something to me, like a meaningful quotation or something inspirational or something I need to remember. So, no, I don't just put up art on the walls. I don't fill my house with furniture just because. A woman was saying, "Hey, well, why don't you get a dining table down here?" I say, "Okay." Well, you see that I have a very large island of marble. I have a marble island in my home, and I forget what it's called, but I have like a large marble island, and it has seating for 5. So I say to this woman, I say, "How many people have I ever had over for dinner?" She's like, "Oh, like 2, 3." Maybe four. I was like, exactly, tops. I've never had more than five people over for dinner. It's not because I have five seats, it's because I am an introvert and I generally don't have large dinner gatherings. So why would I buy a big dining table? She's like, you have so much space. I was like, okay, but why do I need to fill this space? Why is there a necessity to fill the space just because it's there? You see, this is a mind that is victim of consumerism. This is a mind that is idle. This is a mind that does not understand money or thrift. This is the mind of a woman. And it is upon me knowing who I am. I don't need to look wealthy and buy a bunch of tokens for other people to stare at. I buy the things that I like. You feel me? I love antique cars. I'm gonna stay away from them nowadays, but I love antique cars. That's why I get antique cars. I don't go out buying Ferraris because I don't have an interest in Ferraris. I think they look cool, but it doesn't do anything for me. So often we have trouble talking to ourselves, figuring out what we like, how we feel, who we are. We get wrapped up in what we think is cool. We want to be that. We're too busy pretending, huh? Being inauthentic. Acknowledged via PayPal. Shout out to Gensley. He writes, tuition. Man is not meant to be humble. He's meant to be humbled. Iron Mike Tyson. That boy Mike is a wild boy. Shout out to Rick. He writes, peace of the Saints, paying what I owe. Appreciate you, Rick. Rick always supporting Gensley as well. Shout out to Hills Inn. Came in with tuition via Venmo. And I also acknowledge Nick. He writes, you are appreciated. Thank you. You are appreciated as well. Shout out to Justin Time. He writes, will your course enable me to build an app from scratch? So if you're saying as a developer, no, it is not a development boot camp. I'm not teaching you to be a developer. And in fact, I don't think that's a smart thing, especially if your goal is to get rich, which what I'm teaching, I'm trying to teach people how to get rich. So, and this is not a get rich quick scheme. That's the NFT, that's the crypto nonsense. This is tried and true stuff. You dig? So will the app teach you how to get an app built, marketed, and profitable? Yes, absolutely. And I think we've already had, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 practicums and 20 plus coming up. And you keep hearing me saying 20, even though we're still having the live practicums. That's because we're going through every bit of work involved in building a successful software business, whether it's a mobile application or a web application. We're going through all the details. I'm putting people to work, not with homework, meaning, when you're in high school or university, they give you BS assignments. Just in the only purpose of the assignment is for the teacher or the professor to look and say, oh, you did it correctly. That's the only purpose. It doesn't do anything. We're working on live technology that you've gone through the whole process in building. We're putting it live in the marketplace. We're working with live consumers, live customers, and users. We're driving the transaction. We're marketing. We're engaging in sales, engaging in customer service, brand development, creating marketing collateral. You're doing everything that needs to be done. It is impossible for you to take this course and at the end not know precisely what to do to start from scratch, zero, and build up to profitability. It is impossible. You will know what you're doing, I promise you. And the most important thing about this practicum, and only experienced people know this, is that the other great value of the practicum is that you're working with other men. You see, what you don't realize is that different than school, in business, it's about teamwork. You need teamwork to make the dream work. Even Steve Jobs had Wozniak and a whole company with him. No one does it alone. And these men that you collaborate with in this practicum, you guys might say, oh, hey, man, I got an idea. You want to work on this with me? And you know that they're a person who now has skill and experience because they've went through this training with you. And this might also be someone else who might invest capital or cash money to help you drive your idea. So it's a very meaningful value. All the persons who have purchased the practicum, like, these are smart men, and they've gotten the greatest value I could ever identify for any course that I've taken or any course I know anyone is giving. Because you can take a whole bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship from a decent university and you come out not having ever created a business. You come out not having ever made $1. What is that? That's a total waste of time and silliness. You're playing games. Shout out to Miles, comes in by Cashapp, writes, peace of the saints. I appreciate your daily gems. Thank you. I acknowledge Carter. He writes, tuition, just got a valet job, exited to work. Oh, excuse me, excited to work. I think you forgot the C in there. Good, very good. And that's precisely what I teach is whatever you're going to do it with excellence. And in doing it with excellence, you see, people don't realize you can be a valet attendant who's making $10 an hour and maybe you make $50 in tips each day. Or you can be a valet who makes $10 an hour and makes $400 in tips each day. Huh? You see, it's not always about what you're doing, it's about how you're doing it. There have been times I've went to certain ballets, and there's some that I frequent more than others. And when I show up, "Hey, Mr. Burton, it's nice to see you again. Oh man, are you in a different car?" They know how to butter you up. They remember your name. They ask you how long you're going to be there. They park your car out in front. When they see you, even though it's not necessary, they see you, they start running over to your car. They hop in, pull it up. They're putting in the extra effort and they're making a show of the effort to show to you that they care. And it's the feelings of importance that they have put into you that make you give them that bigger tip. You heard me? So this is the difference. Like a real valet guy, and you heard me. If I was valet, listen to me, bruh. You'd have thought I was damn near a house slave because I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get the biggest tip. Oh, Mr. So and so, how are you? Like I might even, if I need to Google somebody, I'm gonna Google and find out who they are. And I'm gonna treat them with great respect. Yeah, they're gonna feel like they're the king of something. When you come to my valet, you're gonna feel like you're the king of Zamunda. You heard me? Yes, and if you're with a woman, oh, you about to get complimented, bro. I'm about to get you laid tonight. If you're with a woman, I'm about to get you laid tonight. You heard me? And there's certain things valet doesn't have to do. They come, they open the door, you get out of the car, and then when you're walking into the institution, it's not their job to run over and then open the door so that you can walk into the institution. But I'm gonna run over and open that door as well. You heard me? I'm gonna do everything it takes to get that extra tip because I'm a valet and this is how we earn our money. Now, if I was a fireman, shit, you don't get tips for putting out fires. You heard me? So I'm gonna do what's required because I can't increase my earnings. But if I can get a raise or however I can, I'm gonna do that. And I don't feel any shame about that. You see, I don't feel any shame about that. And you shouldn't. Shout out to Mr. Tabbett writes, peace to the saints. I love to see people hustling. Sometimes, some people are they're too prideful to know how to hustle. You see what I'm saying? They're too prideful to do what is required. I will never be that guy. No, sir. No, sir. Carter writes, tuition had to pause the live to spit some game. Oh, absolutely. Some opportunities you never get again. You have to seize it while you have it. Cole writes, it's not on you, it's in you. Peace to the saints. Via PayPal. Nordine writes, peace to the saints, big homie. Should one fight train with contacts as there's a danger of them getting knocked out? There's a good likelihood that they're going to get punched out for sure if you actually are competing. Truth be told, I'd sparred for years without contact ever being punched out. Um, but eventually, they started getting punched out a lot. I don't know if it was because I was fighting more competitive people or if I was just fighting more aggressively. But yeah, them contacts are going to get punched out. So if you actually plan on competing, the thing is with competing, if your contact lens gets punched out during the bout, there's no timeout, right? And there's no way to put it back in. So the worst thing is when you have one contact in and one out. It's messing up your depth perception. So it's going to be harder for you to stick them or assess distance so that you can pop them or even slip punches. So if you're actually training to compete, then I would for sure not train with contact lenses in. If you're just training and you plan on never competing in a sanctioned match, then you can train with your contact lenses in because if one gets punched out, you can just stop sparring. You can't stop a sanctioned match. Thank you for the question. May I acknowledge Twano, 2 a.m. writes, just want to show my support for you bringing that lovely Black lady on recently and discussing the important topics within the African American peoples. I appreciate that. And, it means a lot every time I see Black men stand up and support those conversations, because at some point you have to realize who is for you. And it shows a lack of self-respect if you're a Black man or woman and you see someone that's really for you, representing you, fighting for you, and you don't support them. It's like not supporting yourself. What I remind people is that, for example, if you would consider the Queen of England, now deceased, but when she was alive, she was a fairly, feeble, unattractive looking woman, looked very average. There was nothing that appeared to be royal or divine about her, except that you might dress her up in jewels. However, if you would observe the way the British population reacts to her, you would feel the need to give her some respect if you were in Britain, because her people treat her appropriate given her position in their hierarchy. They respect their hierarchy. If the British people treated her like garbage, surely people around the world wouldn't respect her, and they would too treat her like garbage. So if you don't treat your heroes, your revolutionaries, your leaders with respect, and more importantly, if you don't support them, then they will not be supported. They won't even be able to operate on your behalf. Because one thing we know for sure is that, just as we've seen people being deplatformed and silenced, that it can be done. And I don't plan on being one who is supported by big tech or government. I'm one who is supported by the people. So it's the saints, it's people who are clear thinking people, it's people who resonate with my message. And that's why, you guys might not know all of the things that I do. I support a lot of the saints. I put money in a lot of guys' pockets. There are a lot of things that I don't need to hire anyone for, but in Las Vegas, I'll hire one of the saints to do a job I don't even need done, just because I know he needs to have some money put in his pocket. There are a number of organizations that I support around the world, most of which I don't speak of for, I don't speak up for a number of reasons. Trying to get a storefront right now, such that we can have more regular meetings in person, and bring in people who are not familiar with the ism. If I host a conference at one of my properties, those are people I trust. Those are people like you who have been following the ism for a long time, people I trust and respect. But we also need a storefront so that we can bring in people who are completely new to this, people we might not know. And again, when you think about SaaS and security, we're going to need SaaS and security there, because it's the random public coming in. And, so everything we do is by design, and it's really being organized in a genius way, although it doesn't move as fast as I would like, because, I still have to operate as a businessman. I still have corporations to run. But, my true goal is, with all of the character education and most importantly business education that I'm arming you guys with, is we're creating millionaires over here. I promise you. A few years you're going to see people popping up, millionaires within the SaaS, and they're like, hey man, I started a business. Like, I took the man course. I started a business with these other two guys that I also took the course with, and here we are. And so we're planting seeds that will be blooming. And again, thank you for supporting that session, because those are the conversations that people, they somehow forget to support. Shout out to Paul, writes, peace to the saints. Elias writes, the live with Shamika, the Practicum live, as well as this current live, have been great, showing support, as I want to see more of these, soaking up so much wisdom. Peace to the saints. I appreciate that. And that's very smart. Like I always tell people, you got to support the things that have meaning to you, because understand this, let's be honest here. I did a live session about Brittany Renner, which is not someone I respect, and Charleston Left Eye White, which is, again, not someone I respect or even would want to watch. That live attendance is far higher than any other live attendance I've had in recent months. And what happens is it incentivizes the creator, the content creator, to talk about nonsense. Oh, Charleston White, Brittany Renner, silly things, entertainment things that don't really change your life for the better. But because people attend it and they're willing to support it, it's going to, an average human being is going to say, oh, wow, if I can get 1,000 people, 3,000, 8,000 people to watch me babble about nonsense, I'm going to babble about nonsense, because those are the measures that they're watching. So you always have to stand up to make sure that what is most important to you is going to be what's getting aired and talked about. Shout out to Soul in supporting the work. And I also acknowledge Dart Desharn writes, "Hello, Marquette. I want to buy Boss University. Is there a video explaining what explaining the course's structure? And do you have a method of verifying whether or not the contents of the books are true?" What books? Do you have a method of verifying whether or not the contents of the books are true? I'm not sure if you're talking about the books of the Bible or just books in general. So you'd have to clarify that for me. In terms of, do I have a video explaining the content or structure of the course? Actually, I think in one video I did actually pretty much tell like most of the topics that are covered in Boston University. But the course I've structured essentially in three modules: self-improvement, entrepreneurship and business, women. So it's structured in three modules. Each module has a number of lessons. The heaviest module is self-improvement. Obviously, the greater you are, the greater you will be at women, health, relationships, and wealth. So within each lesson, you'll see everything written out. So like all the text typed out for you to read, but there's also a video embedded. And when you go through the reading, things will be bullet pointed, highlighted, so that visually you can easily see when you go back through the course and track back. But then you can watch the video and have everything explained. And the neat thing is, because I did the videos live for the Boston University purchasers, they ask questions at the end. So if there's anything that wasn't immediately clear to most people, they asked the question and we actually went through and talked through it. So, and it's broken up into each section as opposed to like one long video, because it is important that you do something. Like, I'm giving you practical information. You need to practice certain things. You need to execute. And so each section will have you do something or think about something, be self-reflective. You don't want to just listen to it like 8 hours straight through. You want to always take things and make meaning of it. You feel me? I acknowledge Matthew. He writes, "Peace to the saints. I'm about to send a DM pertaining to I know him." Okay, sounds good. When you say a DM, are you talking about you're going to DM me on iknowhim.com, or are you about to DM me on IG? And shout out to Matthew. He has the practicum course on how to develop and monetize an app. And this is good stuff. This is really good stuff. I'm enjoying it. You know, in me, I love business. I love teams. I love team sports. I love winning. In the practicum course, you know, it's like we come together as a team on a regular basis, and, you know, we're working through something and we're building something great. It's fun to solve puzzles and solve problems together and offer value. So it's cool. It's cool. I've been having a good time with these men. On the topic of humility, those who don't have humility are generally delusional. You know, these are the people who think that people are always paying attention to them, when in reality, no one's looking at you that closely. No one's paying attention to you that closely. Um, you see, it's mostly you that are paying attention to you. And, you know, this ails women a lot, because women tend to be self-conscious, self-absorbed. So they're ailed by this an awful lot. You know, they think things are wrong with them that either are not wrong with them or no one else notices but them. That's why they tend to cover over any imperfection with makeup. Let you not be a man who is living essentially with the mindset of the female, overly concerned with the self and foolishly thinking that everyone is staring at you. I mean, just consider this. I find this to be quite comical. The reality of why women wear thongs over full size underwear is because they don't want their butt to look misshapen in their tight pants. There's a presumption that everyone's looking at their behind, which is not often or even always the case, especially depending on the shape of the woman. But yet they do it anyways. You know, when they say that they're not objects, or they don't want to be objectified or stared at, there are very few things that are as egregiously untrue as that. They objectify themselves and they love being stared at. You know, it's actually quite the opposite. It's opposite day out here. So don't be like that as a man. It does not suit you. Let you have humility. And humility operates not as you popularly hear, which is to act small and to, you know, down talk yourself. That's not humility. Humility is being willing to listen and to value others and honor them by believing that you can learn from them. That's humility. You can't even understand the world or other people without humility because you're not willing to yield or open yourself up to new knowledge or new perspective. Humility is a meaningful trait of anyone who would be a leader. Humility is a fine trait of a woman. That's how you know you have a good woman. So few of them actually have this trait. One of the questions I often ask women to see where they stand. I know one woman who's a real woman. You ask her, if you say, "Hey, if I want to go live in Saudi, would you be down?" She's like, "Yeah, for sure." You like, "I want to go live in Albania. Would you be down?" She's like, "Absolutely." "I want to go live in Philippines. Would you be?" She's like, "Anywhere you want to live, I'll live." "Well, why?" She's like, "Because me being happy is based on me being with you. So wherever you want to be, that's where I want to be. My preference on where to live, yeah, I like sunny weather, but if you want to live in Alaska, I'll get a jacket." That's a real woman. Here's another test. Hey, would you ever wear a niqab? Niqab is like a burqa. It's covering the woman. You can only see her eyes. So again, it's identified as an Islamic garment for women. I don't know that's necessarily the case based on research. Women during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, were not wearing burqa, my understanding. But regardless, if you ask a woman, "Hey, would you wear a burqa, a niqab? Would you fully cover yourself?" And they're like, "No." What if that's what I wanted? No. See, they're not for you. They're for themselves. They're not for you. They're for the streets. They're not for you. They're for everyone else. And they have so much pride, the wrong kind of pride, that they take so much pride in their beauty and their appearance, not such that you would approve of it, but such that the world would approve of it, that they have to be seen. They have to be the center of attention. And here's the funnier thing, they think that everyone's always looking at them. They matter so much. Everyone wants to see what they look like. When in reality, a woman who is humble has high levels of humility. So, would you wear a niqab? Even if she's not a Muslim, she say, "Well, if that's what you want, I would consider it." "Would you wear a niqab?" Well, why is that? They'll ask you. They're not being combative. They're being curious. And you explain your reasons, and they're like, "Yeah, I would try it out." No, it's foreign to them. They're trying it out based on them being humble and having love and respect for you. But the woman who needs to be on the scene and she needs to be seen, that is a dangerous woman. In fact, I know one woman I've dealt with who's gorgeous, and she's always sending me photos of herself, and they're good-looking photos, and some of them are actually modeling photos. And every time she sends them, I always think, how do you end up with all these modeling shoots and you don't have an agency, you don't have a manager? Who are these people that keep inviting you on these modeling shoots? And how are you getting there? Are they flying you there? Are they financing this? These are not for any major brands. It just seems like there's individuals who seem to be setting this up. Like, who are all these contacts you keep making? And why do you think that I would like to see these photos anyways? Like, sure, I mean, they're nice photos, but why do you think I'm interested to see these photos? It's the pride. And you'll really be able to measure someone well by observing what they take pride in. If you have a woman who only takes pride in her work, you might have a career woman. That might be a bad thing. You have a woman who only takes pride in her beauty, you might have a dim-witted harlot. That's probably a bad thing. So you should be conscious of what people take pride in. There's some things that you should take pride in. If you're a woman and you take pride in your family, the accomplishments of your children, oh, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one we're looking for. You're a woman, you take pride in your husband and his accomplishments and his reputation and your family name. That's the one. If you're a man and you take pride in the quality of your work and your contributions to the society, you're on track. If you're a man and you're taking excess pride in your appearance, then you're off track. You're very off track. I'm not saying don't groom yourself or be presentable. Absolutely, you should be presentable. And hey, if you can, if you're going to do it like you're doing it for TV. MDBlabel.com, you heard me? Man and Woman Brand.com. Absolutely, get fresh and crispy. but don't ever do that to excess or at the expense of other more important things. I leave the prettiness to the women. You heard me? I leave being pretty and beautiful to the women, and being well groomed and fresh and neat. Yeah, I can do that, but let us not do too much. You dig? Come on now. These boys out here wearing wigs. What's it coming to? Shout to Irvin. He writes, "Peace of the Saint Assassin or nothing." We're in the wig era, the male wig era. Who would have thought we would have ever come upon such a time? He writes, "There was a character cap on the previous message. I understand. I meant to say, how do you go about verifying the contents of the book you read are true?" Ah, I see. So if you read the right books, if you're reading about a subject in which you need facts, you would probably want to read an academic book, and academic books generally have citations, whether it's footnote citations or citations at the end of the chapter or article, what have you. So if that's the case, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. That means that there are citations and there are references to evidence that you too can check. So the truth is a funny thing. The truth is often undervalued. The truth rarely matters. But yeah, you can verify using the citations. And often articles will have citations if you go to the end of the article. But if you're reading a book that is not supposed to be an academic book, then it probably won't have citations. So, depending on the topic and the book that you choose, you'll have more or less citations. Now, generally, if you're reading about something that's fairly scientific, it's in a subject matter where you can prove absolute truth and you can dispel falsehood. I'd probably rather read scientific journals or articles because they're more likely to have facts in them and citations, studies, things like this. Thank you for that question. Saints, I'll give you some time to send in your comments, questions as we wind down. Khalil, with regards to the email that you sent along, there were a number of products that I noted that I'll be offering for the Saints to put on the market. This was for a members only video. If you go back through, this is where we presented the opportunity for the boxing shoes, for the gold watch, which was just announced that St. Flo's has received his gold watch shipment, and those are now for sale. You can get those at assassinbrand.com. That money goes straight to St. Flo's. And I also am going to support him as well. And I'm not supporting him just to support him. I'm supporting him because I want another gold watch. You hear me? I got one that's clean as hell, but I like it so much. To be honest with you, I like it so much. There's just a few things that get me like this. There's just a few things that I have to get more than one. There's a Valentino sneaker that I really like. I got it in black. I got it in white. There's a pair of Chelsea boots that I really like. I got them in red. I got them in green. There's a pair of off-white sneakers I really like. I got them in green. I got them in pink. So there's a number of things. If I really like, I got to get two of them, just because in case something happened to one of them, I needs the other one because I ain't going without. And the gold watch is so cold. I got to get a backup. So I am going to link with you and cop one of those, so you can mark my word on that one. That's on sasnbrand.com. And as I was saying, we release those opportunities to the members, and I know that you are a member. I don't think that the product you're referring to was listed as one. We can put it up, and it would be the exact same financial setup as the other ones. So if that is going to make sense to you, I'll take this back to my team. We'll figure it out and see if we can put this into motion. So I would ask you if you would send another email to support@marquettism.com with that deal and just say, hey, this is a reminder. If Marquette and the team could take a look at this and get the numbers to us. And if you would just cue that email to go out on Friday, that would be best for the schedule to get that looked at. Thank you. May I acknowledge Bruce? He writes, your work is needed in this wicked world. Thank you for even taking time out of your life to fight against that which is wrong in society. Peace to the saints. Peace to the saints. I really do appreciate that. And I'm always pleased to hear from men like you, good men who understand the times that we're in, and you understand that if we don't fight and if we don't do something, it only gets darker from here. It only gets darker if we just sit by. And what I find to be strange is that males are so effeminate in this day that they forget that the police are just men in uniforms. The army are just men in uniforms. That's it. So let us know that we can create our own policing force. We can create our own army. We can create our own nation. It has been done before. America did not come out of nowhere. It was created by men such as us. And we are in a time where liberty is in short supply, and it is time to fight for it and regain it. And also, what we understand of how people organize into communities and tribes needs to change. The moral order of the world is really lost. We have families split across the world. I know people, the one guy lives here, his brother lives in that community, his sister lives in that community, his kids are moving off to college way over there. That is generally not good. And especially in an era where people are increasingly isolated, your phone is not going to love you, and you don't maintain real relationships through the phone. Real relationships and happiness on an ongoing basis, you need to be proximate and close to good people. Like, for example, just yesterday, I linked up with Jabrizi. It's great that we live in the same city. We live nearby. Hang out with my partner, just kick it, chop up some stuff. He needs my help. I need his help. We can link up very easily. I have a problem I want to discuss. He has a problem he wants to discuss. We can link up very easily. That's critical to your mental health, to your peace, to your happiness, your sense of fun. These are the things that we forget about. We find ourselves often isolated. You're in a city just for college, or you're in a city just because your job is there. You don't know anyone. You don't share values with the people around you. You don't share, any major commonalities, and you don't have a support network. So it's critical that we do make sure that those fundamental things are taken care of. Shout out to Travel with Trey, right? Just became a member. Peace to the saints. Peace to the saints. May we welcome him warmly to this thing of ours, and let us always be pleased when we grow, because you see, if you're Chinese, that's going to grow automatically. That ethnic group: Chinese people, African people, white people, Indian people. Well, these groups grow inevitably. You're born into them, whether you want to be or not. But the Assassin, this is a group of people. It's deeper than blood, because we're together based on our ideas, based on our values. And you might be a Black person and find other Black people, you don't agree with them. You might be a Chinese man and you don't agree with other Chinese people in the way they're thinking and behaving. And that's why we have the Assassin, which is a culture based on values, shared values. And so we always are happy to grow this thing of ours. So do welcome him warmly, you dig? And let us continue to grow, such that we can dominate. Saints, it has been a pleasure. Oh, may I acknowledge Solomon? He writes, these are by far my favorite types of streams. I appreciate that. And, I go live when I have something that I have to say that I think you need to hear. And they're often motivated by real experiences and meaningful observations. So thank you. And I'm glad you all do support me in doing this. Thank you to Mr. Fuller, who just became a member of this thing of ours. So absolutely show him appreciation as you welcome him. Shout out to Justino. He writes, God bless the whale tail. Shout out to Justino. He's been with us for a long time, always supporting, well-connected saint. Shout out to my executives as well throughout the country, throughout this country and throughout the world, who basically maintain this infrastructure and grow it and keep everyone feeling a part of this community. I appreciate you. Shout out to the moderators as well, everyone who's doing their work, even those who are unsung heroes. Saints, until next time, let us end this with our tradition, the creed of the assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The creed of the assassin. I'm going to be who I truly am because I am remarkable, and I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, peace to the saints.